Welcome to This Week in the PNFL. I'm your host, Mark Hill, along with Mitch Grawl and Dean Chambers. How you doing today, guys?
Very good. How are you?
Yeah, doing okay, man. Doing all right. The sun still came up here, Mark. Sun still came up.
Yep, and hey, as long as the sun comes up and we're on the right side of the grass, it's all a good. It's all good. It's all good. So,
That's right.
all right. So, regular season is over. Oh, let me back up first. Hopefully, everyone enjoyed their Fourth of July. Um, we was a little bit sparse on the graphics. Just trying to enjoy some of that time as well, and trying to, like I said, we did the show last on a Thursday. It's like, yeah, there's no way it's gonna get all that
Now,
stuff done in time. So,
Mark. Mark. I think you had some special family additions here over the weekend as well. Is that correct?
yes, I did. Yes, I did, guys. I am a grandpa for the first time. My youngest daughter gave birth to her baby girl, Mariah, and she was born 7 pounds and 5 ounces.
Oh,
Mother
nice.
and baby are both doing well. Um, she'll be heading home from the hospital tomorrow. Had a little bit of an issue there. Nothing major. Just stand what they consider a standard procedure. So, but she will be heading home. We're hoping tomorrow she'll be heading home to her house. And yes, I am definitely feeling my age right now. But mama and baby is healthy and happy. So that's all that's important. So
Well,
Yes.
congratulations.
thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So,
Hey, we'll give you a pass on the graphics between Fourth of July and bringing in grandchildren. I think
all
you get a
right.
pass this week. Okay.
All right, you guys. Thank you guys for giving me that pass. I enjoy that. I enjoy that. So, heading into the Week 16 games as we end up, the regular season. Um, there were some teams that basically were basically in a playoff game. Win and you're in, and there's some teams that were just trying to put up a good showing going into the off season. And we're going to go through all of those, and we're going to look at the four wild card games coming up, and we'll talk about the 8 teams that are going to be participating in that wild card in our little tournament. So let's go ahead and get this thing kicked off for the Week 16 games. First game on the list is the New York Jets New York Jets going into New England and playing the Patriots, and New York does what New York does and walked away with a 39-17 victory. Dean.
Yeah, New York does what New York does. They possess the ball for 37 minutes. They went 3 of 3 on fourth downs, and they went 7 to 15 on third downs, which is still pretty good. They gained 437 offense, and they just pretty strongly won the game and ended up winning by 18 points and finished a 15-1 season where the only loss was the highly unlikely, but it happened. 9-6 loss to Minnesota. So you've been saying that the Jets are on a mission, and they certainly proved it. They're 15-1, and probably has the best odds of going to winning the Super Bowl of the 8 teams that are participating in postseason.
I agree with that. Mitch, what do you got?
Man, how about that Mac Jones, baby? 303 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, player of the week. And, I think a lot of folks might have thought he was going to get rested, for the playoffs. But nope, big game for old Mac Jones. But I tell you what, everybody, if I'm Indianapolis, I'm looking very closely at this game because I think New England may have found a chink in that New York defense. They were able to gain about 8.1 yards per pass against New York. Now, granted, it did not get them within like 22 points of New York, but maybe Indianapolis can exploit some of that in the playoff game coming up.
Yeah, the Jets will close that hole.
Yeah.
I think Mac Jones was playing safety as well in this game.
He was okay, so he was pretty much doing it all, huh?
Maybe that's what it was. That's what it was.
All right. Next game we have Jacksonville hosting Indy, and I would say that this definitely was a win in your end for Indy, but I don't know if they looked a little bit too far ahead into the wild card weekend as Jacksonville um, closed their season out on a high note with a 38-21 win. Mitch.
Well, Mark, you've been saying all year that Jacksonville is the best one-win team in the league, and I guess they proved it this week.
Oh my
Just,
my
just
my.
joking. Hey, it's last week of the thing here. All joking aside, Jacksonville, the thing that really stood out to me was that running game. Goodness gracious, they had a 99-yard rusher, a 76-yard rusher, and a 61-yard rusher in this game. Ran the ball 55 times, and so I think if I remember, I think they actually came out in the wishbone at one point in the game there against Indianapolis, and so New York might be looking at this going, yeah, you can throw the ball 8 yards a pass, but I'm just going to run the ball 60 times and never give you the ball. So, no, great win by Jacksonville, and like I said, it was just cool to see that ground game really stirring it up and getting all those different backs, a lot of good carries. So, good stuff.
All right.
Okay.
Dean, what do you got?
There's a different story of this game. What if I had told you at the beginning of the season that Trey Lance was going to be playing for Jacksonville and leading them to a victory in Week 16 in a game they weren't supposed to win, and that Ben DiNucci would be in Atlanta leading the Falcons to a win in a game they were not supposed to win? If I predicted that, what would you two have said?
Mm.
No.
I'd have said, wow, a lot of stuff must have happened since the Super Bowl.
Yeah, pretty much. Been like, yeah, what do
A
you
lot of stuff has happened since the Super Bowl. You would have said I've been smoking some really funny stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I would have said that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But that's
My first question, my first question would have been, what happened to Justin Fields? But as I said, I have moved on from that. I don't want the curse on me no more. So
There you go. You got to remove that curse from you.
that's right. That's right.
because you called Justin Fields the cancer. So,
Uh,
having to.
yeah,
So, yeah, that's one thing I noticed about that game. I don't know what happened, but he decided to, well, I'll try something different. I'll put Trey Lance in as quarterback. And that in the running game and 40 minutes of time of possession did the trick.
Yeah. Well, I think you said, well, I'm going to put Trey Lance at quarterback, but I'm just going to run the ball every down.
There you go. Just run the ball. Just have him just standing back there. That's I'm good.
Yeah,
71% of his passes, though, and
Yeah.
2 touchdown passes.
yeah.
He was bad.
Yeah, I mean the Indianapolis defense was probably all banged up. So that's a good thing, for New York is that Indianapolis's defense is probably all injured. I haven't looked at the injury report after getting beat up like that, so who knows? Maybe we might see some carryover into the playoff game.
Yep, might see that. All right, next game we have, and this was another I'd say winning you're in, and it worked well for one team and not so well for the other. And it was commented, it was mentioned that this team could lose, and it was a rough outcome, but they had a good season. So going into that with that little teaser, we had Kansas City going into LA to take on the Chargers, and I don't know if it was an upset to some people or not, but LA ended up walking away with a 23-10 victory. We're going to start with Dean and then go to the coach.
Well, I'll point out that Steve said on the forum that he wasn't sure whether or not he wanted to put in the effort to win this game and knock Kansas City out of the playoffs, and he had committed to starting Justin Herbert at quarterback. And he said, yes, I'm going to figure out how to win this game with Justin Herbert at quarterback and knock Kansas State out of the playoffs. And you know the way I think he did that? And when I watched the game, it looked to me like he used nearly the same defense in this game that he'd used against me in the Super Bowl. It seemed like, I don't know what the actual numbers were, but just from watching the game, it seemed like Baker Mayfield was sacked several times, or at least was pressured. Was the
Um,
Chargers did a lot of blitzing in this game. It looked very much like the defense they used in last year's Super Bowl, and I think that's what decided the game. This defense was really tough on the Kansas City offense.
yeah, they were sacked 5 times. Mayfield was sacked 5 times versus 2 for Herbert. So it was definitely a rough outing over there. The total net yards was 418 to 224. So, um, yeah. What'd you see over there, Coach?
Well, here's what I saw. I saw a team that looks like they're ready for taking some time off. It was not good. A much worse performance than the previous couple of weeks when I played Los Angeles, and no excuse or no silliness out there. Just LA won it, and Dean's right. The pressure package really gave my team some problems, and so that's something that I'm going to have to take a look at how I'm game planning properly against pressure. But congratulations to Steve. Getting me those 2 times there the last month of the season, taking the division, getting the chance to defend his title for this year. And I will say this as Schwarzenegger once said, I'll be back. So don't y'all worry about me any. But I will say, though, I mentioned this a few minutes ago. I told Dean in the pre-show, I said, look, obviously, my ragging you about Justin Fields, you put the voodoo curse on me and my kicker. So I told Dean that I asked for forgiveness and to take the voodoo curse off, and we've agreed to be friends again. So I want all the listeners to know that.
Okay. So we gotta play nice now. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no,
Next,
no, 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 no more ragging on Dean about Justin
until next season.
Fields. So anyway,
All right.
uh,
Next game we have on our. Do what now?
You can't, and even next season, you can't blame it on Justin Fields anymore. You can be
we'll find something else to rag each other on.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's tons of material out there, so we'll just spin the wheel and just pick
Yeah,
something. So,
that's right. That's right.
all right. Next game we have. This was a game between two teams that just wanted to put up a decent showing, as the last game of the season. Both teams weren't going anywhere. We have Pittsburgh going into Seattle to play the Seahawks, and Seahawks walking away with a 35-15 victory. Mitch.
Well, I've already sent Donovan a couple of notes after this game. I thought it was an interesting strategy that Pittsburgh was running pass long and pass razzle dazzle defenses on first and second down. Yeah, with all joking aside, Donovan had some copy paste issues in his profile this week, and because I was watching the game, I'm like, why is it first and 10 and there's only like 2 defenders for Pittsburgh within like 10 yards of the line of scrimmage? And I'm like, oh, because he got his profile screwed up. So anyhow, interesting game. It was fun to watch. It looked like 7-on-7 for Seattle out there. So it was interesting. But yeah, moral of the story, guys, check your profile very closely before you send it in. I'll just say that. But
Yep.
Dean, what do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. This is a pretty good performance by Zach Wilson. I mean, minus you take away the interception, that would have been a very solid performance. It did get him player of the game at least, and pretty. Yeah, I mean the defensive situation by Pittsburgh allowed Seattle to put up some really nice running yards.
Yeah.
They ran the ball 29 times for 209 yards, for an average of 7.2 yards per carry. You'd be really hard pressed to lose a game when you put up those kinds of numbers.
Yeah, we can do that though. Good thing we
Yeah.
didn't do it this season though. So or this
Yeah.
this week.
Well, it helps that on 1st and 10, and you hand the ball off to your fullback, and all the defensive players are running back 25 yards. That also helps that running game. So,
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll take it all day long. So I kind of
oh,
looked at it as being it was the last game of the season. Either coaches are gonna phone it in, or they're gonna try something new, or like in this case, you know, copy and paste issues, and I've been a victim of that as well, and I've been contacted by the commish and a couple other coaches saying, "Hey, you got some issues there." So, like Mitch said, you definitely got to look at your PPPs to make sure that the copy and paste don't come up and bite you in the backside. So, next game that we have on our list, I would say this would probably be a win and you're in, or make it a little bit more challenging. Even though this team did win, they needed some help, and the help didn't really come around. This was Atlanta hosting Washington, and even though Atlanta took the victory 28-10, as I just stated, he needed some help, and the additional help did not arrive. So we're gonna start with Mitch on this one.
here's what I see about this game, and it really kind of encapsulates the Atlanta season and really the past couple of seasons for Atlanta. When Atlanta has balance on offense and is able to get the ground game running or moving and running, they are much more successful. And this game here, Atlanta was able to gain 180 yards on the ground. They got 4 rushing touchdowns. And Danucci, I mean, granted, I mean, it wasn't like he threw 300 yards, but because of that success on the ground, Danucci just had to be efficient. 70%, 213, and they put up the 4 scores there. So that to me, that's what stood out the most in this game was that balance coming back into that Atlanta offense. And so, Dean, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I believe that the Giants are going to win and get in. So, with this game, of course, I preferred to win rather than lose, and I made some assessments of what I thought Washington was going to do, and I think I was more correct than wrong in those assessments. I think the basic game plan that I aimed to do worked pretty well, and I was trying to do more running of the ball in this game, and as you can see, that had some effectiveness.
Yeah.
And 2 running backs that were 73 or more yards, so that was pretty effective. And overall, the running game was 5 yards per carry on average, which is still pretty good. So yeah, all the scores were running touchdowns. There weren't any touchdown passes, no interceptions. So the numbers that Danucci did were as you said, pretty efficient, and that allowed him to finish just ahead of Justin Fields in the quarterback standings and the numbers, which is good. And so it was good to finish the season on a winning note. You always prefer to do that rather than finish on a losing note.
Yeah.
Yep,
So
yep, definitely. I agree with you there. Next game we have on our list, we have Chicago hosting New Orleans. Um, Close game, but Chicago managed to walk away with a 34-24 victory. Dean.
Yeah, this is a pretty solid performance by Chicago. And as I was watching the game, they had led by multiple scores late on and a late scored by the Saints because I thought that Chicago was going to win and cover the spread, and the spread was like 13.5. So, watch the game. I said, oh, Chicago has to win by 2 touchdowns to cover. They almost did. They won by 10. They didn't quite cover, but, they were probably more concerned with just getting the win and going into postseason with momentum, and they did that.
Okay. What do you got over there, Mitch?
Well, I'm looking at this, and y'all tell me if y'all can remember this. A Chicago team that wins by 10, but yet the opposing quarterback ends up winning player of the game. I don't think I've ever seen that happen
I
with a
don't think
Chicago
I don't
team.
remember seeing that ever.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Clayton Thorson, the head saint himself here, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns, one player of the game. But to me, what was really impressive with Chicago, besides obviously getting that 10-point win and solidifying their spot there as number one seed in the NFC, was the fact that they had two uh, runners that averaged over 20 yards a carry. Um, which shoot, I'd like to get anybody that could average that on multiple carries. And Chicago had two runners that had five combined carries for what's like 115 yards. That's being efficient on the ground.
Yeah.
Look at that. So, yeah, it was interesting for sure, but Chicago's ready. We'll see how things go here in week one for them.
And they overcame 2 interceptions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. By who? By who, Dean?
Um, the guy that was throwing the ball.
Yes, yes. The man who will no longer be mentioned. That's right.
Next game that we have is Detroit ending up the season hosting Anaheim, and Anaheim walking away with a 14-8 victory. Mitch, what do you got?
Well, if you're a fan of ugly football, then you enjoyed this game. Hey, Anaheim closes out the year on a three-game winning streak. Maybe getting the fans' hopes back up in Anaheim that maybe they're getting the thing turned around. So we shall see. Not a whole lot of offense for either team, but Detroit, 54 yards passing, which, hey, if they were running the 1995 Nebraska offense, that wouldn't be that big of a deal. But unfortunately, they're not. And so they're only able to generate 8 points in this game from that. But, Dean, what were your takeaways from this game?
I'm wondering if it's more like the year when Colorado played Notre Dame in the national championship game, and neither team had much offense. And I think this was like 10-9 or something. And maybe that's what they were running.
Yeah, I guess Rocket Ishmael plays for Anaheim. That's what it is.
nine completions in 20 attempts. Some games, Detroit has had their quarterback throw the ball like 40 times.
Yeah.
This time only 20 times and only 9 completions.
Yep.
With a long pass of 9 yards. Yeah.
Wow.
Not stretching the field in this game. Let's put it that way.
No.
Not stretching the field.
They stretch the field more with their running game, where one of the running backs ran for 14 yards, another one ran for 13. No, that's the quarterback who ran for 13 yards. Their quarterback ran longer than he passed for.
Now, do you all think it is a possibility that the Detroit coaching staff said, you know what, we want to ensure our rookie running back gets rookie of the year, and really adjusted the profile and to ensure that Robinson was going to pretty much get the majority of the touches in this game so that he could get the yards to get rookie of the year? Do you think that could be a possibility?
Could be. Who knows?
Because he did win rookie of the year. And remember, I was thinking that Hall for Las Vegas was going to win it, but James said, "Oh no, no, no! Look at my guy." And I don't know, maybe there was a little bit of thought given to that, or maybe it's just coincidence. I don't know. So,
It's possible. And if you're Detroit, what else do you have to aim for?
well, yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah.
So hey, so like I said, didn't think about it till we're sitting here doing this, and maybe that's what happened here.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Something to think about there.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Something to
right.
think about next season in Week 16 if you're not going to the playoffs.
There you go. So we are coming down to our final two games of Week 16, and this one here is interesting game that we had discussed early on. Definitely another one of those win and you're in games, and this one was Minnesota hosting Las Vegas, and Minnesota walking away with a 27-13 victory. What do you got, Dean?
Yeah, this was going to surprise me. I expected the Raiders to be a bit stronger in this one and get their offensive situation together, but as it turns out, they didn't run the ball very well, and the passing wasn't all that bad, but it wasn't enough to make up for it. They just didn't do very well in offense. Came up with a total of 13 points, and Minnesota did well on offense, and they were pretty solid on defense, and they definitely wanted the win and they knew they needed it, and it, uh, it was effective. They won the game, and they did get into postseason with that win.
Okay. Mitch, what do you got?
This game here just I don't know in my mind when I think about a Barney team. When I think of the Barney Vikings, this is exactly what I think of. A team that's going to suffocate you on defense, just grind you into the ground with offense. And it might not be the prettiest thing, but it's going to be effective and win. And so I think Barney took a few takeaways from that last game against Las Vegas where they had to have a fourth quarter comeback to win. I think he made the adjustments, and you know, um, we're gonna see. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens in the playoffs. Barney's back in the playoffs, um, and they're. I don't know. I say keep an eye out for Minnesota. I'll just say that.
All right. Still on that Gonna ride that Minnesota train some more, huh?
Well, hey, now that I'm out of it, okay, I'm going to jump. I'm going to stay loaded on Vikings right now. So,
All right. So last game that we have to end up to close out the regular season. Definitely a must win, or more or less of a seeding position, I guess you want to call it. This game was San Francisco going into New York to play the Giants, and the Giants ended up winning 38-13. Mitch, what do you got?
well, first let's get out the balloons, the streamers, the sparklers, and first just say congratulations to our buddy Sean for getting his first playoff berth in the PNFL. So maybe you can add some graphics of that for the show in there. So congratulations to Sean for earning your way in. Right, you had to win this game to assure your spot in the playoffs, and you did it with some flair. I mean, yeah, big game. Big game on the ground. Barkley and Freeman, not just the Barkley show this time, but had that two-headed monster, thunder and lightning of Barkley and Freeman back there, gaining, I guess, between the two of them, about 242 yards on the ground. So that's absolutely fantastic. But here's what's crazy about this game, right? You have two 100-yard rushers for the Giants, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You've got a quarterback that threw for 3 touchdowns for the Giants, right?
Right.
So you think, well, obviously, one of those running backs or the quarterback's going to win player of the game. Oh no. Oh no. The receiver that caught 7 passes for 57 yards, averaging 8 yards a catch, but caught all three of the touchdowns
Hmm.
with player of the game for, for the Giants. So I throw my hands in the air for how in the world all these things are calculated. Heck, Barkley should have won player of the game with 136 yards on the ground and a touchdown, but who knows? But congratulations, Sean, and look forward to seeing how you roll in your first playoff game.
All right, yes, and I will definitely have to get with those interns. Come up with something for the graphics this week. So, what do you have over there, Dean?
Well, for this entire season, Mitch, you've been on the Minnesota train, and I've been on the Giants train, as you know. And look what happens. Week 16, those two teams needed to win to get in, and they did win, and they did get in.
Yeah. And neither one of us are in, and we sit here and watch them.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey,
None
you
of
guys are playing cheerleader. There's nothing wrong with playing
Yeah.
cheerleader.
Yeah. I've got that Viking the Viking helmet with the braids on it, ready for the playoff game this Saturday.
All right.
But I believe you two had picked San Francisco last week to win, right?
Yeah,
Let's see. Who
yeah,
do
I
we
did.
pick? Yep. We both
I did.
picked. Yep. We
Yeah.
both picked Frisco to win, and you were the only one that you picked the Giants, and you got that
Yeah.
victory.
Uh, Obviously, that was a mistake. So,
Obviously. Yep.
yeah.
So.
Yeah,
And it doesn't look like San Francisco arrested anybody either. I see Burrow was, they played, Michelle played. So,
Yep.
yeah. I just believe that the Giants are going to pull it together and get the must win and get in.
yeah.
And I even approached my own game, assumed that I was not getting in because the Giants are going to win, and they did.
Right.
So yeah, it's first time Sean gets his team in the playoffs, so it's it's good for him, and now he's going to have a chance to play Chicago in Chicago this coming weekend.
Yeah,
Yep.
congratulations. You made the playoffs. Now you get to go to Chicago.
Yep. Tall order. Tall order. So.
Well, to be the man, you have to beat the man. So
That's
Yep.
right. That's right.
Definitely. All
another way to
right.
do it.
Yep. So we have finished the Week 16 games. We're going to pivot over to our middle segment. And what are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk about playoffs. So we have our wild card games coming up. So, we have Indy, the way everything shook out. Indy is going into New York to play the Jets. Washington is hosting San Francisco. LA is going to be hosting Minnesota. And Chicago is going to be hosting the Giants. So, like we've been doing the past couple weeks, I want to go ahead and have Mitch talk about the NFC teams, and then we're going to have Dean talk about the AFC teams. So, we're going to go ahead and start with you, Mitch. What do you
All
see
right.
from San Francisco, Washington, and the Giants in Chicago?
Dan, I tell you, I'll start off talking about that Washington San Francisco game because I think this one really could be really one of the tightest of the weekend. If you look back at the regular season matchup, Washington was able to get the victory, but it was only a 2-point win. It was 17-15. And I think Jerry would agree. His team has been a little off their game here the last, quarter or so of the season. I can relate to that a little bit. And so I think Washington will pull this victory, but I think it's going to be pretty darn tight, especially when you look at the fact that San Francisco scoring defense is one of the best in the league. I think I've brought that up a few times here over the last few weeks, but they've only given up 275 points this year. The only issue for San Francisco is the fact they've only scored 285, and so if they can get the offense a little bit more effective, we'll see what happens. Now, Chicago and New York, oh boy. Now on paper, I mean, yeah, I would say Chicago should end up winning this game, but I think we've all seen at times Chicago has had some unusual results in playoff games. I remember like one of my first times making the playoffs. I was able to get an upset against them in a game where I know I wasn't anywhere close to being picked for that. There's been a few others out there, but I know that Justin is all well aware of that. But who knows what Saquon Barkley has in store on that piece of it. So I think it'll be a good game. We'll see what happens. It's always fun when the first time team gets in the playoffs, kind of see how they react and plan and do stuff. So I think, you know, I don't know if we'll have an upset in either one of these games, but I don't know. I think we could see some scores closer than what the spreads are. So.
All right, Dean, what do you have on the AFC games? You have Indy going in to play the Jets, and you have the Super Bowl champs hosting Minnesota. What do you have on? What do you see on your end?
I think the spread in the Jets game is just about. I think Indianapolis will certainly put up a tough fight, but I think the Jets are just more than they can handle at this point. I think the Jets defense will be tough, and the Jets offense will score a lot of points. I think that will be possibly a one-sided game, or at least I can't see the Jets winning by anything less than 10 points in that game. And I think there's a good chance they'll cover that 13.5 spread. Now, the Vikings playing the Chargers, that's going to be more interesting. And you're going to have Lamar Jackson starting for the Vikings, and he's going to remember the last time he played that Chargers defense when he was playing for my team. And that Chargers defense is going to be just as tough as it was last week against the Chiefs, just as tough as it was against my team in the Super Bowl, and this week against the Vikings. And I think that's going to set the tone for the game. I think, I could even see something like a 17-10 win by the Chargers, maybe even 21-17 or 21-13. I think it's going to be a very tough game. And I think the Jets are going to, the Chargers are going to win and cover that spread, because I think they're going to play a very tough game against the Vikings.
Okay. So as they've given their take on it, I'm gonna look. I think I'll do my quick rundown since I am in the NFC as well. So I will take my pick or my swing on the AFC team. So um, just as um, Mitch has been on the on Minnesota's train, and Dean's been on the Giants train this season. I've been riding on the Jets train this season, so I think that the Jets are going to continue to roll. I think I've said it pretty much all season. Last season was a fluke for the Jets, and they're coming out to make a statement. So the spread that's there for them, um, I think is justified. I will reveal my who I'm predicting this week, but I think the Jets are going to continue to roll. They're going to roll all the way into the championship and to the final game, and we'll see what happens there. Minnesota and LA. Um, this one's a much harder one for me to pick. Um, you know, both teams are good. Both teams play in the same division. It's true that LA has two more wins than Minnesota this season. Also, LA is riding a three-game win streak. Minnesota's riding a one-game winning streak. The points they're pretty much identical. Minnesota's put up 344 points this season, and LA's only put up 340. So very respectable um, for both teams. Now the downside, the negative on this, LA has given up 322 points versus Minnesota giving up 253 points. So I would say definitely the defense will have to show up, and if Minnesota's defense shows up, then LA is going to have a hard time to try to take this victory. So um, again, I'll reveal my pick later, but I think this is going to be a very good game. Uh, they're pretty much evenly matched. The only difference right now is LA is riding a 3 game win streak, and Minnesota's riding one, but points for are pretty much identical. I think the difference is going to be on the defensive side. Do you guys agree or disagree on that? Do you guys disagree, or do you guys agree or disagree with anything that either one of you have said thus far, as
Really,
far as
but I
respectable games?
Well,
generally, but just remind you that the Chargers defense is going to play very tough.
Yeah.
well, here are a couple of things to be thinking about. All right. So when you look at the AFC side of the tournament here, okay. Now, Jets definitely favored as they should be. I mean, you got to prove it right in the playoffs. But when you look at the two regular season games that the Jets and the Colts played this year, people might not realize that both those games were one score games. All right, 36-31 in week 6, and then a 23-17 in week 9. So it's not as if, New York, blew the doors off of Indianapolis during the regular season. Now, we all know the regular season's one animal versus the playoffs, but this could end up being a little closer than maybe what people are thinking. Don't let the Jacksonville game that Indianapolis played maybe fool you out there. Now, for the Minnesota and the Los Angeles Minnesota game, I mean, those were nearly coin flips in the regular season. LA swept the series, but won both games. But combined, they only won by a combined 5 points. They won in week 7, 25-23. They won in week 11, 29-26. And so this is one that this is going to be an interesting ball game. I really believe it is going to be something. It's going to be tough for the home team. I think in this game. I'll just say that.
Yeah, well, I also believe too. There's that old saying: you can't. Can you beat the same team 3 times in one season? That's a very big chore. So, if they've already if they swept the series in the season, this is the third time. So, ooh, I don't know. That's going to be a tough way to go on that one. So, anything you have on this one, Dean, before we move into our final picks?
A few seasons ago, I was in the position in Minnesota, having made the playoffs at 10-6 and having lost 2 games in the regular season to Mitch's Raiders, who were 13-3. And yes, we played again the third time, and yes, that team did win the third time, and I think there's a very good chance that the Chargers will do that this time around as well.
Okay.
And I think when you look at the NFC games,
Mm-hmm.
I think the Giants are going to play the Cardinals a lot tougher than people think. The Redskins and 49ers both going into this with losing in week 16. And I just see, I think Washington will overcome that and play that game very tough.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna pivot from that, and as we go to end it up in our third round, you guys know the deal. We do our wild card, or this is the wild card picks for this coming week. And as we wrap up our predictions for the season, the only thing that I managed to win was the overall predictions. For the regular season, I came in at 93-51. Mitch came in at 92-52, and Dean came in third at 81-63 for overall predictions. For the lead
So you
pipe,
the most important part of it, though.
what?
Most important part, the most important thing to win in these predictions is what you won. So I wouldn't minimize that.
Let's see what I'm gonna win. Um, I get to pick one player from each one of your teams of my choice. No, Mitch, I'm not taking your kicker. Uh,
Well, it's my long snapper. It's his fault. The
I,
long
I'm
snapper.
not taking the I'm not taking the long snapper either. So
You get to pick someone off the practice squad.
there we go. Get to pick someone out the practice squad from both teams. I don't know. I might want a starter. I don't know. I need all the help I can get. Or better yet,
Well, I will say this, Mark. This isn't the only thing that you led in. You also led the league in net average punt yards too at 35.7. So, congratulations.
hey, but you know what though? I did not lead in sacks.
He
I
sacks allowed.
in sacks allowed. I did not. I was making some progress on that one for a while. So I kind of got out of that one. So I have
Yes,
to.
congratulations.
Yep, I got to
Yeah,
thank I
yeah.
had to thank New
You
Orleans
yielded
on
that.
that one.
So you yielded that to New Orleans. Yeah,
Yep,
you and Dean tied for next to last in sacks allowed. So
yep.
yeah.
So because you were kind of riding me a little bit on that one. It's like, man,
Yeah,
is your
yeah.
quarterback got a concussion protocol?
Well, I think after week 4, you had been sacked 27 times, so you did right the ship. So good job.
Yes, definitely. So, for the lead pipe locks for the season, very interesting. Mitch and Dean both tied at 9-7, and I came in on the back end at 6-10. So,
I just can't get past 9-7 this year, can
yeah, no, you can't. You just kind of stuck on that one. So we're gonna do a quick reset.
Nine and
For
seven to make the playoffs in the NFC.
yeah,
I?
this is true.
9-7 just used to make the playoffs. Period. This league.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna reset for the playoffs, and we're gonna start the whole thing over with the playoff version here. So we're gonna start this one off with with the wild card games coming up. So I'm gonna reset the clock for us, and as we come up to the wild card games, the first one on the list, we have the New York Jets hosting Indy. Rich Sporting Books is given 13 and a half to the Jets. We are going to start with Mitch on this one.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, you take the 2 regular season games, and the point differential was about 13 and a half total. So that's regular season. I think the Jets. Somebody told me that the Jets are on a mission this year, so I think the Jets are going to win this game, and I think they'll cover it and win soundly. But I think Indianapolis should still be excited about being in the playoffs.
Okay. What do you have over there, Dean?
Yes, the Jets are going to show this new participant in the postseason what the playoffs are all about. And they're going to play very tough and win this game and definitely cover the spread. I won't predict it, but I wouldn't even be surprised if it's like a 17-0 shutout by the Jets. Maybe even 25-0.
Mm,
Definitely Jets wouldn't cover the spread.
okay.
Yeah. I remember my first playoff game, Dean. I played. I could just went blank on it was the San Diego coach before Steve took over, and I just went
Lee
completely
was
blank.
their coach.
Yeah, and I remember thinking, all right, hey, I think I got this figured out. And he beat me like 42-14 in the playoffs. So I did not have it figured out, and I'm still figuring it out. So we'll see what happens with Indy this week.
Okay. For me, I think that as I said earlier, I've been talking about the Jets all season, and I'm going to keep things going. I'm not jumping the train yet. I am predicting the Jets are going to win this game, and I do believe that they're gonna make the spread. Uh, no way around that one. Next game we have Washington hosting San Francisco. They are giving San Francisco, oh, excuse me, they're giving Washington 7.5. Dean, what do you got?
Yeah, the Washington running game is going to make a big comeback this week. Washington is going to play solid, going to play tough defense, and they're going to get back on the winning side after losing to the Giants and losing to the Falcons last week, rather. And yeah, this will be a Washington win, and I expect they probably will cover the spread, but don't be surprised to see a solid Washington effort, but they might possibly just fall short. They may only win by 5 or 6 points. I think it easily win by 10 or 11, but I think it will be a fairly solid, even if it's somewhat close in the score, Washington win.
Okay. Mitch, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna in the same camp as Dean. I think Washington wins, especially if the same type of run defense is had by San Francisco this week as it was against the Giants. All that said, I think it's going to be closer than the spread, but I think Washington will find a way to make it to the NFC Championship.
Okay.
Two games and no win by blocks yet.
What was that?
2 games predicted and no lead pipe locks yet.
Yep, no lead pipe locks yet. So that means we got something very interesting coming up here on this one. Well, wait a minute. Let's see. Yep. So for me, uh, for Washington, I'm kind of torn on both of these two teams because both of them, I think I mentioned before, both teams can be beat. Both teams haven't beaten this season. As I look at this, um, Washington's put up what for this season. They've put up 386 points. San Francisco 285. Washington's given up 310. San Francisco 275. Mm, I'm I'm gonna go with Washington this week, and I'm gonna put them down for my lead pipe lock this for this week. So that's who I'm going with. Next game we have LA hosting Minnesota. They are giving the champions 6.5. Mitch, what do you got?
All right, everybody. This wasn't mentioned in the earlier segment, but if you have not reviewed the transaction board out on the forum, Tua Watch is officially on in Minnesota. That's right. Tua has been activated from the IR. And so the big talk around Minneapolis is it going to be Tua or is it going to be Jackson starting at quarterback this week for the Vikes? I have no idea. I have no idea which one of those quarterbacks is going to be showing up for Minnesota. But what I do know is going to show up for Minnesota is that Purple People Eater defense. Uh, this absolutely suffocates teams. And I think Barney is ready to remind folks that he is the connoisseur of defense when it comes to the AFC. And he is going to go into Los Angeles and whoever's playing quarterback and find a way to get this upset. And I'm going to put my lead pipe lock on the Vikes, and we'll see we'll see how it goes. But the big controversy in the Minneapolis is who's going to start, Tua or Jackson.
Okay. So that is so you got your lead pipe block in there. What do you have for us, Dean? What do you see?
I said not so fast. Whether it's Tua starting and he's rusty and hasn't played in weeks, or it's Jackson who's afraid of the Chargers defense. The Chargers defense is going to define this game. Not the Minnesota defense, the Chargers defense. And I think the indication will be whether or not whoever it is that starts in Minnesota, do they get sacked 4 or more times? And I would say 3 sacks. Chargers are probably winning. 4 sacks or more, the Chargers are definitely winning. And I see that happening. And if you're betting any amount of money on this, the one you want to bet on, and yes, it's a lead pipe lock. Chargers are going to win this weekend. Lead pipe lock.
Okay. Um, I've already used my lead pipe block on this one, so I think the champs are, they've already tasted that victory once, and they're gonna want to have a repeat for this one. I'm gonna go against Mitch and his Viking train, and I am gonna be predicting LA is going to win this one. It will be a tighter game, much closer than the spread, but I'm going with LA on this one. Last game for Wild Card Weekend, we have Chicago hosting the Giants. They are giving the Giants 17. They are giving the Cardinals 17 and a half. Dean.
Yeah, the Giants' running game is going to continue. Daniel Jones will do enough passing and keep it efficient. But the Giants' running game is going to set the tone, and they'll find some lanes to run against the Cardinals' defense. And this will be an upset. The Giants are going to win this game. It might be very close, but the Giants are going to upset the Cardinals. Kind of like what happened to Chicago last year.
Okay.
Giants win.
All right, Mitch, what do you got?
Well, my first playoff win was against Chicago back several seasons ago. And so there is that possibility of an upset, but I will say that was my third or fourth time in the playoffs. And so it takes some adjusting to be successful in the PNFL playoff tournament. And so I think Chicago is going to win this game. But I think New York can definitely keep it under that 17.5 point spread. So we'll see how it goes, but I think it should be entertaining nonetheless.
All right. For me, I do believe it is going to be much closer than that 17 and a half point spread. Um, Sean's had an outstanding season. And Chicago is they're a tough team all the way around. Can they be beat? Yes. Will they be beat this weekend? No. I'm going with Chicago for the victory for this weekend, but it's going to be much closer than that 17 and a half point spread. Don't believe that spread at all. So, all right. So as we end up with the wild card weekend, finishing this one up, our show.
Once again, I have no company on the Giants train.
No one on with you on the Giants train this week. Well, hey, don't feel bad. Mitch didn't have anybody on the Minnesota train.
I'm over here on the boat with the Vikings by myself, so don't be jealous.
Yep. So, but you guys all riding that jet train, huh? Y'all got that first class ticket, huh? On the Jets.
No, that's not putting your neck out there, Mark. That's not putting your neck out.
All right. So.
Yeah, hey, and water is wet.
Yeah. Yeah, and the sun rises every day. Maybe cloud cover, but the sun's gonna rise every day. So, as we come to wrap up this show, I definitely say that we had a real good season, some real good games, and I think it's going to continue into the postseason. So, as we wrap this up, anything you have out there, Dean?
Yeah, I'm understanding we might have a new coach joining. I don't know who's leaving and which team it is, but allegedly there's possibly someone new coming in, but that will remain to be seen. I don't know who it is. Okay. I don't know what team you're talking about. So, but we'll see.
All right, Mitch. Any final words over there before you take us home?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to do with myself without a game this week. I was looking forward. Maybe we'll get that draft pool out or something here soon. But If not, you know what? We'll get ready. We'll watch some playoff games. So for all the teams in the playoffs this week, there's only one thing left to do. Let's get it.